Hello, my name is Taryn Ann U'Halie, and today I will be presenting a topic on education leadership for assessment and evaluation. First, I'd like to thank everyone involved with the 25th Summer Annual ALC Heli Conference. It is my pleasure to be presenting for you today. So my question to you is, do you understand your interpersonal reflective equilibrium? To answer that question, I'm going to share with you rhetoric and dialogue for assessment and evaluation in education leadership roles. But before we begin, a little bit about me. I am studying at George Mason University. I'm getting a master's in education, studying education leadership. I'm also a middle school English language learning teacher for Fairfax County Public Schools in Fairfax, Virginia. And Fairfax, Virginia is 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. So that's a little bit about me. Let's get started with this presentation. All right, so our goal and objective for today is to understand the method of interpersonal reflective equilibrium. And again, I'm going to show you some rhetoric and dialogue for reflective assessment and evaluation within education leadership roles. So if you're an administrator, this is great for you. If you're a teacher leader, this is great for you. If you're a department chairperson, this is great for you. This is just going to show you ways we can engage in conversations using the method of interpersonal reflective equilibrium. All right, before we do that, let's start out with a community builder. So you're going to see right now there's a QR code. If you scan that QR code, that is going to take you to something or a web application called Padlet, where I'm going to engage with you answering these questions on the Padlet. I encourage you to use the QR code. And also, I've also provided the link right here, which I'm going to open up and show you. When you enter Padlet, if you've never used it before, you will have to log in, okay? And you might have to just log in with your email account. It's super easy to use. If you're not able to get this technology right away, that's okay. This is taped, but I encourage you to engage, and then I will come back within the next week after the conference and look at what you wrote, comment on the things, but this is just a community builder to get us started. So I'm going to click on this link right here, and it's going to open up the link, and you can see Padlet. So if you've never used this before, this is an awesome, engaging online platform. And you can see right here, I've put these different community builder questions on here. So the first question, what do you do to relax, right? And so to use the Padlet, I'm going to move my screen over here. You just click on the plus button, and you can add, what do you do to relax? Right? Click on publish, and you can see it adds your comment, right? So please feel free to go through and pause this video and go through each of these questions. So to also build a personal connection, I asked you, what is your favorite genre of TV, music, or books? Professional learning design. What takeaways from this presentation do you want to implement immediately into your practice? And the last question I'm asking is, what is a hope you have for the future of education? So please pause the video and engage in this Padlet, and I look forward to reading your answers. All right, I'm going to go back to the presentation. So just one moment. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to move this over here. All right, so welcome back. And let's move on to our next discussion item. All right, so again, throughout my presentation, you are going to see links and these QR codes, right? These QR codes are taking you to Padlets in different interactive platforms that I've created throughout this presentation. So to begin, KWL chart. We all use them. Let's engage. How do you solve problems when in a leadership role? So on this Padlet, I want you to answer this question by telling me, what do you know about solving problems when you're in a leadership role? And what do you want to know? about solving problems in a leadership role? I encourage you to answer those two questions first. And then after the presentation, please come back to the Padlet and add what you have learned about solving problems when in a leadership role. So I'm going to click on this link right here so you can see what it looks like. And if you've already logged in, you're going to be able to come back into this and answer these questions. So again, I encourage you to click on what do you know about solving problems when in a leadership role, and what do you want to know about solving problems when you're in a leadership role. Please answer these two questions first, and then at the end of the presentation, you can come back and tell me what you've learned about solving problems when in a leadership role. All right, let's get back to the presentation. All right, here we are. Okay, so I think what's important though is, before I move on to the next step, maybe I should answer these questions. So what do I know about solving problems in a leadership role? It can be really difficult to solve problems. I know that you cannot show bias, and that you have to listen to multiple perspectives of people in your team or in your department. Now, if I was just a participant such as you, what would I want to know? First, what is interpersonal reflective equilibrium? And I wonder what kind of dialogue, I wonder what kind of rhetoric she's going to share with us, because, I'm not really sure the language that I should be having if I'm in a leadership role. All right. So those are just some of the things that I think I would add to this KWL chart. All right, let's move on. Okay, so to answer the question, do you understand your interpersonal reflective equilibrium? I've taken these three words and broke them down just to the basic dictionary definition, right? Interpersonal, what's that mean? Relating to relationships or communication between people. Well, when you're in a leadership role, no matter what that role is in education, you are always relating to people. You are always communicating with people. So that's interpersonal. Reflective, relating to or characterized by deep thought. Thoughtful. Again, in a leadership role, you always need to be thoughtful. You need to be thinking of others. You need to be thinking of your decisions and how all of this comes together to solve problems. And equilibrium, a state in which opposing forces or influence are balanced. So this is really important in education leadership. Again, no matter what role you have, being a leader, you are going to have people that get along, that don't get along, that have the same ideas or don't. And as the leader, it is you to make that balance so you are solving that problem in the most efficient way. Okay, so what I have here is a great video on interpersonal reflective equilibrium. Now, I am not going to play the video, but I am going to explain the different versions that I have here in this presentation for you. All right, so what is John Rawls' theory of reflective equilibrium? This is a short video explaining John Rawls. He created reflective equilibrium. So they are going to explain what this is. Now, what did I do to make it interactive? Okay, first, the full version on YouTube. You click that link, it's going to take you to the YouTube and just show you the full version. Now, also, second, I also posted the video here, so all you have to do is hit play, and I'll show you really quickly. It's loading. There we go. You can also click in the presentation and it'll show it for you. Okay, and I'm just going to pause because I don't want to ruin it for you. Now, the cool thing, right? The interactive part to this is join Edpuzzle class to interact with video. Okay, if you know nothing about what Edpuzzle is, this is really cool. Now, I'm going to click on this link to show you, but it's going to go to my teacher link. But I created a class just for this presentation. So when you go to Edpuzzle, it is going to have you like join my class. And so it's going to look a little bit different than this. But I'm just going to go straight to my content so I can show you what I've done for you. So if you've never heard of Edpuzzle before, it's really awesome. You can take YouTube videos, or I think other videos from other areas, and you can edit them, which I did. I cut this down, and I also am asking questions. So this is something wonderful you can use. So for example, you can see I have on the right side of the screen, I have some questions that I'm asking as you watch the video. So for example, let me just hit play. We're going to start out with this video. One of the reasons and automatically it stops. And I ask you a question. According to Paul Weithman, who was John Rawls? And then you can answer with audio, or you can type your answer in the box provided. Once you type in your answer, so for example, I'm just going to say he was a person, right? You submit, and then it goes on to continue the video. Okay, so again, I don't want to take up time in the presentation, but I want you to interact with this, please. And also, too, if you have any questions, I provide my information at the end. So any questions, the technology doesn't work, you're not sure what's going on, don't worry about it. I can totally help you with that. But yeah, engage with this. This just explains what this reflective equilibrium is. And I have on the next slide to show you, well, what's the overall main idea of this reflective equilibrium? All right, so your interpersonal reflective equilibrium is a method for moral reflection, justification, and deliberation. It's a method to justify moral judgments. It is to be used in the current situation going on in a leadership role. And as a leader, it is also helping you to understand diverse considerations from stakeholders. So stakeholders are everyone that's involved in your interactions in that leadership role. So other administrators, teachers, students, parents, stakeholders is just everyone. So overall, your interpersonal reflective equilibrium is you reflecting to balance out the diverse ideas, the diverse comments or considerations that you have when going into meetings, and especially in assessment and evaluation. If you are that administrator working with a teacher, or if you're a department chair working with other teachers in your department that are maybe having issues assessing their students, or maybe they want to speak to you about the evaluation that they had from their administrator, reflecting and using specific language can really help you understand the current situation by using moral reflection, justification, and deliberation. All right, now here is a case study, right? So I have created 2 questions that I would like you to answer. And again, you see that QR code. So you can use, oh, you know what? I'm going to hide this. I probably should have been hiding that the whole time. Sorry about that. You can use the QR code. It's going to take you to a Padlet again, another Padlet, where I've asked you these 2 questions, and I'd like you to reflect on them, right? You're now going to be using your interpersonal reflective equilibrium, right? So, what is the most current situation as an educational leader that you have had to use discussion to reflect stakeholders' diverse considerations? So, in answering this question, think about something that's just happened recently, right? How did you have to reflect on all the different information that maybe you were intaking during a conversation, a meeting, formal or informal? How did you handle that, right? So this is using your reflective equilibrium right now, because remember, it's working on moral judgments, right? Ethical decisions, moral decisions. Where are you as a leader, right? Because remember, one of the things is as a leader is that we need to stay biased. Or I'm sorry, we cannot be biased when we're making these decisions in a leadership role. The second question I've asked you to reflect on is, in what ways have you, as an educational leader, considered strategies to support challenges and navigate challenges? So again, use this interpersonal reflective equilibrium to think about, what were the strategies that you used to support people that you were leading, right? We all have different situations that have been coming up, especially, coming back after maybe most of us have been online for a year. There are so many new different challenges and problems that we've had to solve as leaders that we really have needed to reflect morally on the judgments that we have been making. So there's the QR code. I'm also going to click on the link just to show you what it looks like, because it is going to take you to another Padlet, and here it is. And so again, I have just put those 2 questions up there. I'm going to ask you to, again, you can pause the video, you can go back and look at what is interpersonal reflective equilibrium, right? How are you reflecting, using your your ethics to answer these 2 questions? And I look forward to reading your answers. All right, let's get back to the presentation. All righty, I'm going to move my camera over here. All right, so I hope you're enjoying this so far, and I hope maybe from that KWL chart at the beginning, I've answered some of your questions. All right, next, demonstrating empathy, something that is really important as a leader. So I have here 2 quotes from some readings that I thought were really important. So the first one is from a book called Better Conversations: Coaching Ourselves and Each Other to Be More Credible, Caring, and Connected. And this talks about the importance of demonstrating empathy. And you can see from the first line that it's saying that empathy is not highly valued today. I kind of questioned that when I read this, because I'm always empathetic in everything, pretty much everything that I do. But as I read, you see that it says people can be reduced to stereotypes. Whole groups of people are labeled based on politics, gender, race, religion, sports preferences, right? Even the type of smartphone you use. I mean, think about it. How many times have you looked at someone and said, they have an iPhone? They're an Apple user. What does it make you think about that person? Or they're using an Android. Automatically, right? You are stereotyping people. I know, crazy, right? iPhones. But we are doing it, and this book brings this into light. So when we reduce people to stereotypes, we stop seeing them as unique people, right? And we start putting them in these categories. And as it says in the quote, sometimes we're identifying negative traits in people, okay? The second quote I have here is from Empathy: Why It Matters and How to Get It. So this is talking about Roman Kisnarek, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this name wrong, but they're talking about empathy, that he's saying that there's ample evidence to show that empathy can be learned, okay? The first quote was like, it's not very highly valued, and this person is saying, hey, we can learn about empathy, and that's what this presentation is going to be showing you, how to use rhetoric and dialogue to demonstrate empathy as a leader in a conversation, in assessment and evaluation of teachers or administrators, right? Or even your students, okay? And you can see here that this author says, by expanding our capacity for empathy, there's an overwhelming agreement that, our personal empathy quota is not fixed, right? So again, fixed mindset, growth mindset, right? I hear these words and I'm thinking growth mindset. So we can develop our empathetic potential throughout our lives. Our brains are malleable. They can change, right? They enable us to rewire our neural, I'm going to have that problem with this. Your neural goings on in your brain. I'm sorry, that word is just giving me a tongue twister. But anyway, the gist is, we need to have a growth mindset when demonstrating empathy, okay? And I think these two quotes are really helpful and to help us understand when we're doing that interpersonal reflective equilibrium, where are our morals? Where are our ethics, right? In evaluating what's being said in the conversation, and as a leader, what role are we going to demonstrate to the people that we are leading? So at the bottom, you can see that there is a question that I've asked you, and it's linked, and I'll show you that link. So in the recent year, as an education leader, how have you demonstrated empathy? Why would it be important as a leader to practice the method of interpersonal reflective equilibrium to lead a discussion that reflects on morals, ethics, and judicial ideologies? Now, this link is going to take you to something called Flipgrid. If you've never heard of Flipgrid before, it's pretty cool. So you're going to answer this question. This is totally up to you, by recording your answer. Now, when you click on this, you're going to have to log in, just like you logged in to Padlet. But once you log in, everyone that watches this is going to be part of this group I created, 25th ALC Heli Conference. And there are two things here. And the first one is describing empathy. This is where you're going to answer those two questions. So when you log in, you can see right here, all you have to do is click on describing empathy. It's going to open up this Flipgrid. And you can see I've put the questions in there under the title. And all you do is click on adding a response. All right. And you can see right here, I have recorded a demonstration video, and I'm not going to play the demonstration video because I want to give you that time on your own, but it really is just me showing you how I use how I use Flipgrid. There's lots of fun things you can do, and this is my answer on demonstrating empathy. So I really hope you enjoy using Flipgrid. All right, let's move on, get back to our presentation. All right, I hope you're enjoying this so far because I enjoy putting this together for all of you, especially the interactive parts. I love doing that. Okay, next, cooperative learning strategy. If you are watching this as a department or with a friend, or maybe you just want to try this as in your own leadership role, this is called Save the Last Word, right? So here I give you the ideas of how to do this cooperative learning strategy, right? You're going to share a passage without comment. Others in the group are going to respond to a quote, and then person A has the last word, and you can continue till all the quotes have been shared, all right? So you're saying, okay, I've done this before, or I haven't done this before. How does this work? So let me show you. Here we go. And exercise your empathy, right? You can follow these steps I'm going to show you just for say the last word, right? So put yourself in another's shoes. Step one, think of a person you'd like to understand better. All right, so this is exercising your empathy, right? As a leader, you have people that work with you you don't know so well. Think about that person. Step two, put yourself in his or her shoes and consider the following questions. What do you know about this person's life, values, and goals? Because as leaders, you should ask yourself these three questions before entering a dialogue, handling assessment and evaluations of your colleagues, whether it's evaluating their performance or assessing maybe even discipline, right? But again, that interpersonal reflective equilibrium, you have to go into that mindset of using the method to understand who is this person? Right? Do I know anything about their life, their values, or their goals? Because that is going to help you find more balance in making decisions of how you handle the conversation with this colleague or someone that you're leading or assessing or evaluating. Step three, consider implications for yourself. What have you already done to build a relationship with this person? What more might you need to do to learn more about this person and build a relationship with him and her? So as we know, in a leadership role, in an education leadership role, building relationships is highly important. So as you as the leader going into a dialogue, handling assessment and evaluations, it is crucial that you think about these 3 steps, putting yourself in another's shoes, so you understand where is the person coming from, because you really need to be empathetic towards them, to understand their life, their goals, who they are as a person, because that really helps you understand maybe why they're doing what they're doing when you're assessing or evaluating their performance or discipline in a teaching or administrative situation. All right, next, really important with empathy. Listen for the request in a complaint. Okay, here is another 3-step process, right? So you have someone, they've come to you, they're not happy, they're complaining about something. You got to think about what might be going on for this person. So if you use that 3-step process that I just explained, you're starting to internally reflect upon who are they as a person, right? Do you know them? Do you understand what's going on with their life, right? So here's a 3-step process: pace, lead, and question. First, they come to you with a complaint. Pace. Paraphrase the emotion and content. Then, lead. Describe the desired behavior. Finally, question. Pose a follow-up question. All right, let's get to what this looks like. All right, now what I've provided is something called hip pocket questions. So before I show you how to do this, I just wanted to give you, share a document with you that has a list of questions that might be useful as you begin applying knowledge of meditative questioning, right? And we call these hip pocket questions because they're just something that maybe you keep somewhere close to you, right? So you can pull them out. So you can see some of these questions here that I've provided for you. Also, if you do click on the link right here, it takes you to the actual document that I provided for you. Excuse me. And there are many questions here that you can use within this process, okay? All right, so I hope you enjoy this. And this is really helpful. So for example, with these hip pocket questions, I'll just give you a little anecdote here. I've actually said to myself as a leader within my own school year, okay, what questions do I want to practice? So I'm with a colleague or I'm in a leadership role and somebody comes to me with a complaint and, I might say, well, what might be some strategies you're considering? You have this problem. What have you done? What's worked? What hasn't worked? If you were successful, what might that look like and sound like, right? So in this discussion, you're, having open-ended questions to your colleagues or other administrative staff to help them think about their own reflective equilibrium. All right, so listen for the request and a complaint. Here's a scenario. Think about how you would answer this. I'm going to go through with how I answered it, and then, take the time, pause, and think about how you would answer this yourself. So, the scenario. Our team meetings are so unproductive. I feel like they are a waste of time. All right, so you're the leader. This is what your staff is coming to with you. Pace. Paraphrase the emotion and content. So this is what I thought of, right? I'm going to paraphrase. So what I'm hearing from my team is no one is enjoying these meetings and there's so much that we have to do. This just seems pointless, right? Now, I might not word it like that, but that's what I'm thinking in my mind. So paraphrasing, coming back saying, I get it. You have so much on your plate and you're not really seeing the value in these team meetings. So now I'm going to lead. I'm going to describe the desired behavior that I want them to start reflecting upon, right? So, okay, these team meetings seem to have more meaning, more value, and there seems to be a need for a structure and that we got to get straight to the point, right? So what are some of the strategies I'm questioning now? After I've given a desired behavior, I've led the team in thinking, okay, we've got to get straight to the point. These got to be meaningful, and we don't want to waste a lot of your time. So I'm going to pose a question to this team as the leader. Excuse me. What are some strategies the team has considered to have more resourceful meetings? So again, you have opened up the discussion with an open-ended question to help that team think about, okay, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What structure are we going to use? How are we going to come in and say, we're only going to meet for a half hour today. And here is what we're going to talk about. This, and this. And you get it done and you move on, right? That is the goal as the leader. When you hear a complaint like this, being empathetic first, understanding teachers don't have a lot of time. They need to get it to the point, understand what's going on. So what strategy do you think would work best for your team, right? You're leading your team to make up their own, you're helping them solve their own problems, right? You're just there as the facilitator, just like we are as teachers in the classroom. So take a minute, pause the video. How would you answer that for yourself? All right. This is the last section of my presentation, balance, inquiry, and advocacy. So this is a 3-step process of rhetoric and dialogue that you can use as an education leader. So a 3-step process. Phase 1, inquiry. Phase 2, from inquiry to advocacy. And phase 3, advocacy. All right, so what does all that mean, right? All right, let's look a little bit deeper into this. Okay, so here is a great, again, hip pocket cheat sheet, right? That talks about the 3 phases. And I'm going to review this on another screen to show you these 3 phases and just kind of like skim through it, and show you. So again, here is a link. And you open up the link and it's going to take you to the document. And also, you're only able to view these documents, so you will need to make a copy of them for your own personal use. And I am going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's first start with looking at phase 1, inquiry, right? Your team, whoever you're assessing or evaluating, they come to you, right, and they have this problem, or you have noticed something in the assessment or the evaluation, right? So you invite others to make their thinking visible, creating psychological safety. What do you have to do? You've got to actively listen to them, right? Paraphrasing, right? That whole pace, right? Ask open-ended questions to invite the thinking. And you saw that in the first, or in that last section that we talked about. Second, inquire for elements of advocacy, right? So here are some questions, right? And honestly, in my leadership role, I have used these questions going into conversations during assessment and evaluation. So again, focus on advocacy. What are some of your assumptions about this issue? So for example, maybe you're teaching a general education class that has special education and language learners in there, right? Your language learners, you thought they had it, but then you see that they didn't produce the work that you wanted. You saw this in your evaluation of this teacher. So going to them saying, well, what are some of the assumptions you had about this issue? Giving the teacher or whoever you're working with that open-ended question to allow that feedback, and you're actively listening to them, right? You can also see there's a reasoning question you could ask. You could, ask a question going toward their feelings, distinguishing data from interpretation. There's a perspective question, wider context, concrete examples. So again, based on the information that you're hearing during your dialogue or your discussion, these are some really great tools to help you, engage in that rhetoric, right? Engage in that dialogue. Use these structures. So it really helps the interpersonal reflective equilibrium, flow a lot easier. Phase 2, from inquiry to advocacy. Signaling your intention to shift from inquiring to advocating. Mark your intention to transition from inquiry to advocacy with nonverbal signals, shifting your body, breaking eye contact, pausing. Pausing is huge. I really find that if I just pause, that shows that I am actually listening, I'm actively engaging, and I'm ready to say something. But, I really want to think about it because I want to make sure it's the right thing to say that's going to have the most meaning for who I'm engaging with. Use a transitional sentence stem. here we go. Sentence stems. Love them as English language teachers, right? So here's a related thought. An additional idea might be, right? So this is you commenting on what they have answered in that open-ended question that you've asked them, right? So you're supporting them, right? Last phase, advocacy. Make your thinking and reasoning visible. So for example, focus on advocacy. An issue that is important to me is, or my assumptions are, yeah? Reasoning. I came to this conclusion because. Now, this is you engaging, right? Making your thinking and reasoning visible, right? I feel blank about this, right? So, or distinguishing data from interpretation, right? This is the data I have as objectively as I can state it. Now, here's what I think the data means. So again, in assessment and evaluation, you are going to be looking at so many different types of data on the way you work your assessment and evaluation in your setting. Your perspective, I'm seeing this from the viewpoint of, right? Give concrete examples. To get a clear picture, imagine you are in school something, right? 2, test your assumptions and conclusions. So you can encourage others to explore your model, assumption, and data. What do you think about what I just said? Do you see any flaws in my reasoning? What can you add? You can reveal where you are at least clear, or you can stay open and encourage others to provide different views, right? So I really like that last one, staying open, because that's where the interpersonal reflective equilibrium is really clear to me, right? You are the leader. You have gone through these 3 phases where you have listened, right? You've advocated, and now you're trying to give even more advocacy, through the inquiry process. And now you are listening to these multiple perspectives, these different ideas to help you judge or justify their reasoning morally, ethically, or even pertaining to some of the laws that you might have in education in your own countries. So it's a lot to think about. So let's look a little bit at a practical application. All right, let's come back here. All right. Okay, balance inquiry and advocacy. Here's a case study. Again, you see the QR code. So again, this is going to take you to a Padlet, where I want you to answer this case study in the Padlet. Also here, this is going to take you to the Padlet link, all right, if the QR code just doesn't work for you. Here's the case study though. You're gonna follow the 3 phases on the Padlet, right? Using that document I just reviewed with you. Here's the case study. You are a member of a middle school English language learning team who is struggling to plan a mini lesson that is accessible to the variety of reading levels in the classroom. You would like to advocate to use an interactive read aloud where the teacher models the use of the reading strategy. This is a new concept for this team. How might you use elements of inquiry and advocacy to promote productive collaboration? All right. All you have to do is just, think about, phase 1, inquiry, right? So if we go back to that document, and I'm just going to come right back here to it, right? Invite others to make their thinking visible, creating a safe place for them, right? Then inquire for the elements of advocacy, right? So based on that case study, what are the questions that you're going to ask? Are you going to focus on advocacy, reasoning, feelings, distinguishing data from interpretation, perspective, a wider context, or concrete examples, right? From that case study. Then you're going to go into phase 2, from inquiry to advocacy, right? Signal your intention, right? What would you do, right? How would you shift your body? Would you pause? Think about how you're going to show that you are engaged in helping this person in your leadership role. And then what transitional sentence stem would you use in phase 2? Phase 3, advocacy. Make your thinking and reasoning visible. So choose one of these. Would you focus on advocacy, reasoning, feelings, distinguishing data from interpretation, perspective, wider context, or concrete examples. And then test your assumptions and conclusions. Encourage, reveal, or stay open and encourage others to provide different views. So again, you're going to follow these 3 phases. I'm going to pop back in here to this presentation. I'm going to click here so I can show you the Padlet. And I'm going to move mine right over here. All right, so here's the Padlet. Nothing's there. I'm waiting for you to add your great ideas to the case study. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. What would you choose to say? And how are you going to answer that case study question again? So just to review, there's the QR code. It's going to take you to the Padlet. This is the case study that you're focusing on. So you're the team leader, right? You're the department chair. You are the principal, assistant principal. You're the resource teacher. There's so many different leadership roles where you could be in charge of facilitating this discussion. Again, using your interpersonal reflective equilibrium. You have to make moral judgments based on who you're dealing with. So think about, who is this ELL team, right? Do you know them? Who are they? Do you know what their goals are that they've set for the year? Do you know what's going on right now currently in their situation? I mean, we are still going through a pandemic, right? Do you know how their family's doing? Do you know how their children are doing? Do they have family in other parts of the country? Take that interpersonal reflective equilibrium to really make sound judgments that are going to show empathy towards the people that you are leading. All right, so pause, take some time to go over this case study, or just continue with this presentation. All right, here we go. All right, the end of my presentation is coming. So here we are back at the beginning, right? How do you solve problems when in a leadership role? So you're going to go back to the Padlet discussion board. There's the QR code. The link is there. And I'd like you to share with me, what have you learned, right? The rhetoric, the dialogue that I shared with you, the interpretation of the method of interpersonal reflective equilibrium. Did I help you solve problems when you're in a leadership role? Did I give you any tools? Did I give you any mechanisms? Did I give you any new ways of taking your leadership role and showing empathy toward the people that you work with to create those strong relationships in the workplace? So I look forward to seeing what you have learned from this presentation. All right, so this ends my presentation, and I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share this information with you. And if there are any questions or further discussions for this presentation, please engage in creating a Flipgrid or send me an email, because I totally want to hear your feedback on today's session. And you'll find this reflection topic in the Flipgrid group that I already created. And there is my email. That's my personal email. So please feel free to email me. I'll get back in touch with you. And really quick, I'll pop into that Flipgrid so I can show you in our course that I created for you. Okay, hold on one second. Oh, here's our group right here. Right, so for the conference. So right here, I've created another topic, the interpersonal reflective equilibrium feedback. So this is totally up to you. You can add a response. You can, share quickly in a video telling me, just some basic feedback. What did you like? What was helpful? What could I improve upon, right? It could be just, the way I gave the presentation, or the way I presented the material, or the access that you had to the material. Please, I encourage you to share your constructive criticism with me. So again, I thank everyone at ALC Heli for allowing me to present to you. I've completely had a wonderful time putting this presentation together, and thank you again so much. And I hope this presentation gave you more confidence in being a leader, because I know it has helped me tremendously in my leadership role in education. All right, take care, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your conference. Bye-bye.